Number one thing that I get told from audiences that is their biggest challenge is prioritizing. It's the age old battle of what's number one, what's number two, oh, what's number three. And just as you start to work on number two or number three, there becomes a new priority. How to define your top priorities. We call them MIT. Sounds like a fancy university. It's not. MIT stands for Most Important Task. And in this video, you're going to discover how to define your MITs and what to do with them. Welcome, folks. In this video, we are talking about MITs. Welcome to the channel. Be sure to like and subscribe to my channel so that you are always getting the notifications on the latest content that I post anytime that happens. In this series on productivity, I'll put the links down below. We have talked about what is productivity. That was video number one. What is productivity? How to define it. More importantly, how to know we are being productive. In the second video, we talked about doing the brain dump and how powerful that is to get it out of your head, to externalize those things so that we can either focus on them or, in some cases, relax and focus off of them. We also talked about the 3 benefits of the brain dump, and be sure to check that video out, but they are lower levels of stress. Doing a brain dump helps with our executive functions, the cognitive demands of thinking, creating, and problem solving. Oh, and it also helps that, forgetfulness that a lot of us suffer by holding on to too many things in our head. Check out those videos before you watch this one, and it'll all make sense. In this video, here we go, we're talking about MITs. Welcome to the channel. My name is Herdman. I'm a professional speaker. Today, we are talking about your most important tasks. MITs are the way that we get things done. They're the way we define the most important things that we're going to work on. So today, I want to take you through really what is an MIT. Beyond just a most important task or tasks, we're going to talk about how to define them and, of course, what to do with them. First up, how do we define an MIT? An MIT is something that moves the needle. An MIT means that when it's completed, you are being productive. And so be thinking about that. A couple things to start us off with. There are 3 ways that an MIT will present itself. Jump out and kind of smack you in the face, that kind of thing. Kind of jump off the paper of a brain dump. The first one is, if you know your 80-20, if you know, back to video number 1, if you know the 20% of the tasks and things that you do that get you 80% of your results, that 20%, those are more than likely MITs. Those are the things that you need to be doing on the daily, definitely across a week, to make the 80% of the results that you are judged on, you are measured on, happen. Second way to define my MITs are when I do the brain dump, and I just kind of take a moment after I'm done with that brain dump, that 60, maybe 90 seconds, no more than 2 minutes of a morning or end of the day for the next day brain dump. You just look at that page and those MITs just kind of lift off the page. Again, kind of present themselves to you like, hey, work on me, or how about work on me? Make sure you get me in your schedule because I need to be done or else. In fact, I know this is anecdotal and it's not backed up by a metadata peer-reviewed study from some fancy university where they used a lot of subjects and functional MRI testing. But anecdotally, in my audiences, 50% of the audience will know their 80-20 and be able to define the MITs out of knowing their 20% of the tasks that get them 80% of the results. The other 50% will rely on it to just kind of present itself. In doing the brain dump, they'll just kind of have that clarity. And I know I kind of say that like just kind of have that clarity, like that's woo-woo. well, it's not really woo-woo. It sends a very strong signal through your intuition that this is a real thing to work on. Now, there is a third category or a third way of defining and discovering your MITs, and that is date and time sensitivity. It is due on the 3rd by 2 p.m. And this brain dump that you might be doing is the day before. It's on the 2nd. And you realize, okay, tomorrow that's due. I've got to make sure that this MIT gets done today and finished by no later than tomorrow at noon or 1 o'clock, that sort of thing. So using date and time sensitivity or specificity to signal that this MIT needs to get down on my schedule and addressed. The next thing, once we have defined or discovered those MITs, how many? How many and how long? That becomes the question next, right? How many MITs can I do in a day? That's easy. Two, full stop, two. Some of you are like, oh, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6? Absolutely not. Now, if we were in a seminar or webinar, I would ask the audience, how many do you think you can do? And most people would say between 1 and 3. And then I say, why not? Why not 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 MITs? Heads will explode, eyes will roll around in their heads, and they'll go, because that's a fool's errand. You'll never finish 4, 5, 6 MITs in a day. They're too important. They're too big. They take too much mental energy, too much focus to get them done. And the audience is absolutely right. The guideline for how many MITs is 2. Make a commitment when you do your brain dump, when you're looking at your 80-20 analysis, or you're considering date-sensitive and time-sensitive deadlines. Make sure that you commit to no more than 2 MITs a day. Yes, there will be some days where you can only get, sadly, 1 done, but occasionally, sometimes the day gives us a tailwind, or that big meeting that was looming large out in front of us cancels, and all of a sudden we have a 2-hour block of time open up that you can grab another MIT and put them in. If you have the executive functions to do that, the energy, the focus to do that, you can pull another 1 or 2 MITs in. But for our purposes here, let's stay focused on making a commitment to 2 MITs, putting them on our schedule. We're going to talk about scheduling in the next video, but yes, once we deem a task an MIT, it goes on the schedule, and we're going to commit to 2 of those. The next question is, well, how long can I work on an MIT? It sounds like it's serious work. It sounds like it requires a lot of mental energy and possibly even physical energy for some of us. Yes, we have to consider that. How long? We don't have an endless supply of focus and energy to put out our best work. So there's another reason why we want to define our MIT, so we can really start to silo and isolate and harness our energy and focus into those 2 MITs. So the answer of how long can you work on an MIT? Well, it depends. But it depends on you and the task you're doing. Let me explain. The general recommendation for the amount of time one can work, start to finish, 1 block of time on an MIT is 45 to 75 minutes. This comes to the research, or from the research Cal Newport did when he wrote the book Deep Work. That book was key in us discovering, hey, wait a minute, it's not just put your nose to the grindstone and put your head down and go until you got nothing left. It's about going and working before the fall off, before the point of diminishing return sets in, and then being able to take a break and come back and do that again. So the answer to 45 to 75 minutes a day, that's for deep, focused, flow state, monotasking work. And that, again, for most of us is going to be 45 to 75 minutes. Just a little bit on that. If I'm doing something I'm good at, something that is my default operating system. I'm a right brain creative individual. If I'm doing creative work, something like that, I could probably go 75 minutes nonstop and be fine and take a break and then come back and I can do more. For some of us, doing work that we're not necessarily strong at or good at, or maybe some work we don't like, it might be on the 45 to 50-minute type of window before, again, that work becomes kind of stale and boring. It's very hard for us to maintain focus, and so we start to have distractions and the quality of the work starts to drop. That's a real strong signal to take a break. And again, the best is to catch that from happening before you start to make mistakes, of course. So let's just summarize here where we are so far. 2 MITs, going on the schedule, making a commitment as to when we're going to do them. We know that we're going to work 45 to 75 minutes on those. And the good news is that you can do this 2 to 4 times a day. Yes, we have 2 to 4 blocks of 45 to 75 minutes of deep focus work in us, if you will, in us during a day. So some of you might be thinking, well, wait a minute, I got an MIT that's going to take me 3 hours. No problem. You'll chop that up into 2 or 3 smaller pieces of deep focused work. So for example, if I have 3 hours of deep work to do, of an MIT, it's going to take me 3 hours to complete one of my MITs. I'm looking for 45 minutes to an hour here, a small break. I'll talk about that duration and what that break looks like in just a moment. After a break, another hour or so, and then of course a break and another hour or so, and therefore I've finished my MIT for the day. So we break it down, which of course is something that sounds kind of like, really, got to break it down? Yes, but the people that are the most successful in getting things done will never eat something whole. They'll always break it down into small bite-sized pieces. To 1, to reduce some of the overwhelm. To 2, to give them clarity so that they can define what good work looks like. And then 3, just so they can manage their energy and focus. So we've got our MITs on our schedule. We've got the 1 MIT, for example, that's going to take a couple hours. I got an hour here, a small break, and an hour after that to finish it up. What is a break? What is a small break when we're doing deep, focused work? A break is a punctuation, a respite, a little time out of 10 to 15 minutes. Now, that doesn't sound that bad. Now, all of a sudden, it's starting to make sense. 2 MITs committed to and put on my schedule. Working 45 to 75 minutes in each deep work block. I can do 2 to 4 of those a day. All I need to do is take a short break of 10 to 15 minutes in between. Yes, but if you're doing creative work and you're going to take a break, so let's just say for simple numbers, I've been working an hour on some creative work. One thing I will do is I will try to get into a break of nothing, just nothing. Like I might take a short walk and not take music, not listen to anything, not focus on anything. I may not even take my phone with me. I might just stare off into space. Just look at the clouds forming. I'm blowing by, the leaves blowing by, that little bit of trash that keeps, just rustling around in the wind, just that sort of thing. Or if I'm doing creative work, maybe I've been moving. Maybe I've got all my steps in or my activity for the day. A lot of times what I'll do is do something analytical. Yes, I will give the brain, the hemisphere of the brain, in this case the creative right brain, I will give it a chance to cool down by, say, working a crossword puzzle. That's very analytical, right? Very sequential order, a very certain number of blocks and that sort of thing. So I'm operating my break in the opposite hemisphere that I'm working in. Another example, if you're doing some analytical work, you're crunching some numbers, you're doing some work in Excel or a spreadsheet, or you're looking at a lot of data that you're trying to tease out and come up with a conclusion. When you take your break from your MIT or your deep work block, you might want to take some music with you and get into the right brain to let the left brain cool down. You may want to think of something creative or look forward to a vacation you're planning where you're like, hey, we got this whole day where I don't quite know what to do with yet. We got the choice of kayaking, we could go whitewater rafting, we could do this, and maybe you just take that thought on that walk and get totally in the right brain, just kind of daydreaming, just kind of dreaming about it, just kind of, as they say, conjuring up thoughts of what we could do with a whole day in this vacation spot. You're not putting any pen to paper or anything as far as an itinerary together. You're just kind of pondering it. And again, for 10 or 15 minutes, you do that, you come back, you sit right back down, and you go right back into the creative brain that you were working in or the analytical brain. And that's how we get our MITs done. And again, just to summarize and clarify, it could be two separate MITs, right? Maybe one's going to take me, a half an hour to do really deep work, monotasking, meaning I only do that thing for 30 minutes. Maybe I take a short break and I come back and I do another MIT, an hour straight, and then I take a short break or a lunch, and then I come back and finish up another hour there. I've got 3 deep blocks of focus work, and I got both of my MITs done for the day. Folks, here's what to do next. Revisit the video, number 1, if you haven't, on what is productivity, and define your 80-20. What are the 80% of the results that your organization, your boss, your leaders, your team is looking to you to achieve? And then what 20% of the tasks go into that to make those 80% of the results happen? Then take a moment and do a brain dump. Video number 2 will take you through it. I explain everything you need to do a brain dump and get yourself set up for success, so that when you and where you are now watching MITs, you know exactly what to do. You know exactly how to take the things that get you the results and the brain dump to get them out of your head and put them together now with this video, so that you can structure up getting two MITs, most important tasks, done for the day. And that's going to result in significant increase to your personal productivity and help you achieve the results that you should be achieving in your profession, in your business, as a family member, whatever it is you're trying to do. So take a moment and think about your 2 MITs. If you haven't watched those early videos, go back and check those out. But I want you to think about defining your 2 MITs, either now for tomorrow, or if you're watching this video and you think about, I'm going to start this tomorrow, it starts with a brain dump and then defining those 2 MITs for the day. In the next video coming up next week, we're going to talk about scheduling and how to actually put a schedule together, so that between knowing what I should be achieving and the 20% that get me there, how to do a brain dump to get everything out of my head so I can think clearly and know what I have to do, to defining my MITs. I put the schedule together, I am unstoppable. Until then, take care of yourself so you can take care of each other, and I will see you in the next video.